Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So I thought I was doing some research looking at the situation that's happening now with the Russia sort of surrounding the Ukraine with 300,000 or 100,000, I don't know, soldiers. Gearing up for something to happen. And it seems like from what I can garner that something will happen. As to what exactly that is and the like, I'm not sure. But what I thought I would look at from a little bit of a different perspective is while it's very much about whether or not we are going to get involved in some sort of altercation with the USSR over the Ukraine. It's really sort of less about that than it is about what I see as the possibilities, the reasons why we've come to this point. Things happen, especially in this time of expanded consciousness. I mean, we are definitely expanded at this time, and yet we are facing this similar issues that have haunted us in the past. How do we evolve through those issues? What are we being asked to do in that case? And this is really just an exploration of the energies between what I'm going to be looking at are the energies between Putin and the presidents, the last four presidents of the United States, because our relationship to Vladimir Putin has gone through a shift and a transformation. And I am not a student of history. I'm not a student of geopolitics. I am in no way an expert on those things. So I can't really speak of I know some things, but I don't. And while I'm probably more politically involved, perhaps, or interested, or certainly somewhat aware of political situations, I am by no means an expert. But what I do feel I have some grasp of is astrology and the energies that get expressed through planetary interactions, planetary movements. And so that's really where I'm going to look at things. And I'm going to look at it in a little bit of a different way. So let's first look at some charts. And you'll see what I mean as we go along. So let me just share. The first chart we're going to look at, I believe, is Vladimir Putin, because we want to see, and I think this is an accurate chart. This is the chart that most people use for him. I'm not sure how accurate it is, honestly, but this is what we have, and this is what we have to work with. So with that caveat in mind, this will be his chart. So let me pull up that chart right now. Okay, so I have here a Vladimir Putin's chart, born October 7th, 1952, 9:30 a.m. in St. Petersburg, Russia. I'm using Porphyry house system, and we're looking at the true node. So he has a very interesting chart, of course. Like, how could somebody like Vladimir Putin not have an interesting chart? We have somebody with his sun in Libra, conjunct Saturn in Libra, conjunct Neptune in Libra, and even conjunct Mercury in Libra. And so he does have a stellium in the sign of Libra. That stellium, however, falls in his 12th house. And so when you have these planets falling in the 12th house, it's very often difficult to discern who we're dealing with here. There's a secrecy about this person. He does not like being, he does not like his motivations looked at, perhaps. However, your motivations, I think, are reflected in your Venus-Mars connection, quite frankly, because Venus describes what it is that we desire, what it is that we want to have. Actually, what is it that we want to have? What do we have, and what do we want to have? And Mars is the planet of our conscious desires, but Mars goes out and gets it. And so the relationship between Mars and Venus in a chart will oftentimes give us that information. What's important to us and how do we go about getting it? Now, he has his Venus in Scorpio. Venus in Scorpio is considered in its detriment in Scorpio because Venus is Scorpio. It's considered in its detriment because it's opposite. Scorpio is the opposite sign of Taurus, where Venus is in its dignity, right? And so it's most comfortable in the signs that it rules. It is most powerful in the signs that it is exalted in. Venus rules Libra, Venus rules Taurus, and it is exalted in Pisces. So those are the places where Venus is really in its way. It is most powerful. So he has Venus in his detriment. Opposite that Venus, he has Jupiter in Taurus. So oppositions will often give us a sense of sort of what's out there. There's me, and then what's other than I am. And Venus in Scorpio can be very desirous, wanting to control. And what would it want to control in this case? Probably resources, Jupiter in Taurus. And so this is somebody who is very desirous of the resources of others. Seventh house, excuse me. His Mars is in Sagittarius. Now, Mars in Sagittarius is a sometimes exaggerating Mars. Things are exaggerated. Things are seen in an exaggerated way, sort of bigger than life. And oftentimes there is a need to make big, I don't know in his case, whether he's making these big sort of leaps ahead, or if that's just the way it's seen. But I would say it's him. I think we see him accurately when it comes to what we see him wanting as somebody who feels like he's not being given his due, he's not being given the respect that he wants, and he's not being given what he wants from the world. And I think we see that with his Pluto trine Mars, Pluto in Leo, trine Mars. We also have that Pluto in Leo conjunct his South Node, and with the North Node in Aquarius. Leo conjunct the South Node, both of them being in Leo, is a, if I was doing a past life regression on Vlad, say I didn't know who he was and he happened to come in to my office and we did a past life regression, we might see somebody who has been royalty in a previous lifetime, somebody who's been a ruler. And so he comes in with this sense of wanting to be the king of the world. That Pluto is right up there on the 10th house cusp. And if this is his accurate chart, this is a pretty potent position for Pluto. This is somebody who is used to having power. However, we evolve through our polarity point with Pluto. And so his evolution is actually tied up in that North Node with in Aquarius. In his case, via this chart, his resolution node is in Aquarius in the fourth house. The fourth house. So really, what his soul is asking him to do, as I would read it anyway, is asking him to share power with the people of his land, of his country. Problem is that he really doesn't share power. He's an authoritarian, and he utilizes very covert means. He kills his enemies. He imprisons them. He doesn't allow them to speak. I mean, we can look at what's his name? The guy that's in. I did a whole reading on him, and I can't believe I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. I'll put it down in the descriptor because I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, that guy's in jail, and so he has this authoritarian streak, which is not really amenable to his evolution, as far as I can tell, as I would read this chart. He does have Chiron in Capricorn. Chiron in Capricorn is the wound around authority. Now, I don't know what kind of life he led or what kind of childhood he had, but Chiron, most of my clients who have Chiron in Capricorn have had issues with being parented in a like highly authoritarian manner, or to the other extreme, having parents that didn't parent them at all. And so there is this wound around that issue of authority and being an authority. And there's a woundedness around being an authority in your own life. And while many people, well, a lot of people do the work of their wound, right? So people who have Chiron in Capricorn might find themselves in positions of authority. Maybe they don't trust authority, and they're still put in the positions of authority, so they can see what authority has to do in order to move things forward. So oftentimes that you will reflect your Chiron actually in your chart. Chiron in Pisces, that energy often makes a lot of healers. That's what I have. I have Chiron in Pisces. And so I am a healer. I've been a healer my whole career in one way or another. So we tend to do that. So his need to be in charge, we see through his wounded Chiron. We see it through his wound of Chiron in Capricorn in that second house. That can also, Chiron in the second house can be a feeling of lack. You know, this is somebody who could have possibly, known what it was to go home, to go to bed with an empty stomach, right? This man is very rich. He's very, very wealthy. But his soul is asking him to move in the direction of Aquarius. So seeing as I think, or I hope, or who knows, I'm an optimist mostly. I like to think that we're evolving, and that the more people that wake up to alternate ways and alternate ways of living, not just how we've been told that we have to live and feel and be and do, where we can become a little more self-directive through our awareness and our understanding that we are both individuals within the collective and part of a collective. And the idea that we can sort of move this evolution forward in the direction of more harmony, which is what the higher vibrational energy is about. It's about moving out of fear. It's about moving out of this power over concept and control and repression, and moving into a more holistic, whole, integrated, people being the best people they can be with what they have available to them, utilizing their talents and abilities for the benefit of themselves and for the benefit of others, a more cooperative energy. And so this is what I hope that we're moving towards. This is my hope in my in as I move forward through the world. And I think that it's not just me. I mean, it's not, I'm not coming up with this stuff all by myself, right? One of the interesting things, I want to talk a little bit about his Libra stuff here. You know, he's had some very different relationships with the different presidents of the United States, and that in itself is quite a study. I may or may not be able to get into that in this particular chart reading, because I think that that'd be a long one. That might have to be a class of some sort. Excuse me, folks. Oh, you know what? I brought water up here, and I can't. Maybe I didn't. I poured myself a giant water, and then I forgot to bring it up. Right. Well, I'll do that later. Or Michael will see it, and he'll bring it up for me. He's good like that. All right. So we have the Sun, Saturn, Neptune, Mercury. Of what I understand about Vladimir Putin, or what I've heard say, is that he is somebody who is very much connected to the glory of Russia historically. I know that he did a lot. He wanted to make Russia, he wanted to bring religion back into the mix, as it were. And so this is somebody who's highly spiritual in the religion that he himself purports, to believe. I think it's Christian. It's Christian, and or I should say Russian Orthodox. I believe he's Russian Orthodox, and in its nature, Orthodox is Orthodox, so it tends to be more traditional, more masculine, more patriarchal, right? There's very much a patriarchal energy with Putin, and with the type, and with that religion. We have Mercury conjunct Neptune. This makes him quite persuasive. It makes him quite psychic. It can also make him lie to people, and people will believe him. Like, it's possible he could utilize, it's like a superpower, right? That he can use this way of understanding the enemy in a way that, he understands the enemy. He knows how to get things done in a way that's sort of underneath the radar with this. He also has Saturn and Neptune in a conjunction. This conjunction, as a synodic cycle, says that Saturn's, the structure, needs to surrender to the oneness of divinity or spirituality, or the Neptune energy. So this is a dissolving energy within his own chart. So on a certain level, whether he intends it or not, his energy is about old structures coming down. And if the patriarchal structures are the structures that he is purporting to push, it may be he's doing it, his soul is doing this in an attempt, or in a way of putting that in our face for us to realize that that's not the way, that we need to have a new way of relating. Okay, so we could look at it that way. The Sun, Saturn, of course, his vital energy with Saturn there in a new phase conjunction, is he wants to build something. He wants to build a new situation, perhaps, here. And that's that Saturn is trying, the North Node in Aquarius. So so what I'm trying to say here, and I don't think I'm saying it well enough, that's why I have to explain what I'm trying to say, is that oftentimes, our intentions are our intentions, but the unintended consequences of what we do still serves to bring us to where we need to be, not necessarily as individuals, or maybe as individuals. I'm don't feel I can say that, but where the world needs to be. And so, in his attempt to control another country or another country's resources, for the glory of the czars or whoever the heck, or the church or whoever the heck he thinks is best suited to be in control of this. Or it's very possible, and there is a line of thinking that he is trying to break the imperialist United States. Of course, the United States is the imperial power here. So in a way, Vladimir Putin is a bit of a what's that called? A resistance, right? Not a resistance. Oh God, what do you call them? I gotta write shit down, man. I can't think of the word. They use it every day, all the time on the news. Insurgency. Vladimir Putin is the insurgency to maybe take down the imperial forces of the US. So we could look at things in both ways. And I think we have to look at this situation not from a political point of view or historical point of view, but from a more archetypical point of view, and the possibilities of what's happening to be not necessarily a bad thing, even though for some people it's going to be a terrible thing. So I think that's probably what I want to say about that, and hopefully you kind of understand where I'm coming from. Now, one of the other things that I was looking at that I found very interesting is the relationship between the last 4 presidents, or the last 3 presidents, and our current president with Vladimir Putin, because they all had a different relationship. George W. Bush looked into his eyes and saw his soul, which I can believe. Actually, I can believe that. Trump was like a fan. He was like a super fan of Putin and his ability to just do what the F he wanted to do and crush whoever he wanted to crush. Of course, Trump would enjoy that. Barack Obama was quite hard on Putin. He did not give him really, well, I mean, there are people who are going to maybe disagree with this because I don't know all the politics of it, but energetically, I would say when you see those two together, there was a tension there. There was something that Obama saw that I think Trump maybe saw and liked, and something that Bush didn't see at all. And then we have Biden. So I thought it would be interesting to look at the charts, their charts together. But how I'm going to do this, I'm going to look at their composite charts. And what their composite chart does is it gives us an idea of the energy of the relationship that is formed when 2 people come together. I think that's where I want to start. So let's take a look at, all right, let's see here. Where do I want to start? So this is the chart of the US. That's not really where I wanted to start. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. I don't want to start with that one. Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, hold on one second. I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh, I see what I have to do here. Let's see. What's this? George. All right, let's start with George and Vlad. This is George and Vlad. Now, this is the chart, a composite chart of George W. Bush and Vladimir Putin. And we can see here that they have a Virgo ascendant. The chart has a Virgo ascendant. So Virgo is an energy of trying to perfect, trying to make things better. So there was the energy of attempting to make things better here. The ruler of this chart is Mercury. We have Mercury in the 12th house in Virgo, which is so this energy here to me seems like there's more openness to compromise. There's more openness to solve the issues that are there. We have Venus in Libra. We have Neptune conjunct the South Node in Libra. So there is a sense that on maybe a spiritual level, or because I think that there is I'm going to just speak freely. I think there was a tenderness in this relationship that was obvious, and I think that's the South Node conjunct the Neptune. I think there really was us, and I think there's a tenderness in Bush, and I think there's also a tenderness in Putin. But I think that Bush would be easily, there's a naivete about I think being a white man in America, that good old boys, like that, you know, there's an openness to the well-intentionedness of others, compared to somebody like Vladimir Putin, who strikes me as somebody who, you know, had a more challenging life, upbringing, really has sort of worked to build this persona of macho-ness, masculinity, whatever. But I also could understand how Bush could look into his eyes and see his soul, because I think his soul is pretty close to the surface. The sun in Leo, communicative, right? So there's a, and then we have Jupiter conjunct the moon up there in the 11th house with Pluto there. So these are not necessarily, it's an interesting chart, but it's not as fraught as some of the other charts we're going to look at. Okay, so the next president would have been Barack Obama. So let me see if I can find that one here. No, that's Joe. I'm sorry, I can't really see what charts these are. So this is my own, kind of my own thing. That's Donald Trump. I don't want to look at Donald Trump yet. Let's see. Sorry about this, guys. Okay, so this is Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama. This was the next composite chart. Here we have Virgo, the sun in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo, Venus in Virgo up there in the 9th house. And so this is also the energy of this chart in that 9th house is it's less covert. There's a less covert energy here than there was in the relationship between Putin and Bush, right? Little Bush. But here we have an opposition between Saturn and the moon, close to the nodes. They are conjunct the nodes. Saturn in that 12th house, in a wide conjunction to the north node, right? What do we have here? It's 7. Actually, no, it's not conjunct the north node. It's a little bit too far to be conjunct the north node, but we have the moon conjunct the south node. Interesting thing is that Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin had, their moons were conjunct in their, if you put both charts together, you'll see that. In fact, let me do that. Let's take a look at that. Before we look at this one, let's take a look at that chart. Okay, 1 second here. Barack Obama and Putin. Where are you, Vlad? Where are you hiding, mister? There we go. Okay. So this is the chart between Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama. Barack Obama is in the center of this chart. Vladimir Putin is around the edges, and we can see they had their moons were conjunct. So when your moons are conjunct, there's a fluency of feeling here, where you can talk about your feelings. Now, whether or not they actually did, I don't know. There's a Venus-Neptune connection here. There's a sort of an understanding here that with this Venus-Neptune, I believe that Barack Obama understood Vladimir Putin probably better than any of the presidents that we're going to be looking at. I don't know about Biden, maybe Biden. We'll have to get to Biden before I can actually make that proclamation. But we do have Vlad's Pluto on Uranus there, transformational energy here. I think that one of the things that Barack Obama understood about Putin is that he was, in fact, if he wasn't in fact racist, he would certainly be willing to use the race card against Obama and foment a lot of the distrust of Obama. And I think it has more to do with Vladimir Putin's ability to activate the wounds of the United States to his advantage. And this is something very interesting. Let's take a look at this here. Hold on one moment. Goodness gracious. I have no idea what I'm doing, folks, so I apologize. I'm all confused. All right. I'm just trying to get stuff done. So this is actually the chart of the US here. And this is the composite chart of Vladimir Putin and George Bush. And I bring this up for a number of reasons. I guess this is important to look at too, because it's just so very interesting to understand Putin, the relationship of Putin and Bush, and what it sort of presented to the American people. We have Neptune here on Saturn, okay, with the south node here. The relationship between Bush and Putin, the combination, that composite chart sits on Saturn of the US. This is a little bit of a changing and a softening of Saturn, the rule of law here kind of idea. And on the other side, we have their composite north node conjunct Chiron of the United States. We have Chiron in Aries, and it's very, very close. It's very close. So there is a self-awareness, perhaps, that this brought a different sort of way of looking at our sense of authority in the world. We also have Jupiter and the Sun here conjunct the North Node in Leo. So the kindness or the consideration that their energy brought actually moved us into a better place, I think, of understanding the other. We also have Uranus here on Venus, sort of disrupting our preconceived feelings or values around this. So in the way that Bush and Putin interacted with each other actually changed our relationship to the Soviet Union, or what, you know, there was a time when there was a friendliness there that has since gone away. So let's take a look at we looked at Barack and let me see, is this, no, that's not what we want to look at yet. Nope, not yet. We'll get there. Okay, hopefully we'll get there. Okay, so this is the chart of the United States with the energy of Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama around the edge, right? And so we see where things are connecting. Where are things connecting? And really the only place that we see a real connection is right here. I mean, there are connections, don't get me wrong, there are trines. The most powerful things when you see, you know, two charts together are conjunctions. That's where the power lies. And very often that's what I look at. That's what I look at. That's what I look for first. And it's on the nodes. It's on the nodes. And we have Uranus on the north node. Remember with Bush, we had Jupiter and the moon there. So that's a whole different energy than Uranus. And then we have Chiron on the south node. Chiron opposite Uranus, right on the nodes of the moon. This is a shift. And my first thought when I saw this was that I believe that Barack understood just how racist Putin was, in a way that only, I think, somebody who has really experienced racism might understand. That's not something Bush had an understanding of. That's not something Trump had an understanding of. And that's not something Biden has an understanding of, because none of those people have been in the place of that Barack Obama was for his whole life, being a Black man in America. No matter if he was, you know, wasn't raised here, and he's not the son of slaves, we still have that energy. And I think that it brought us to an inflection point in the way that there's definitely a shift with Russia. And I think Obama saw something that not everybody saw, and went from that position. That's what it feels like to me. And again, I'm not an expert in the political, so so I'm only going with what the chart shows me. So now let's look at Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden as a couple, as a relationship. Let's see, here we go. Nope, that's not what I want to look at. Nope. Sorry, guys. Let's do maybe here. No, that's not it. This one. Am I driving you crazy? I'm driving myself crazy. Here we go. Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden. So here we have an interesting chart because one of the things that Joe and Vlad have in common is a full 12th house. Now, Vladimir Putin has a stellium. Well, let's do this. Let's do this. So while I'm just pull this up so you can see it, because I find that you have to look at these things. So we have Vlad here, and no, that's not what I want to do. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. I want to do a dual wheel here, not a bi-wheel. Okay, here we go. Vladimir Putin in one, and Joe Biden in the other. This will be a lot easier to see. Okay, so we have Vlad here, we have Joe here. Now, if you look, just step back from these charts, right? We see that there's similarities here. You see a really full 12th house, really full 12th house. We see the nodes up in the, well, in this case, in Joe's case, it's in the 9th house, but the 9th and the 10th house are the most public houses. We have the south node here, the north node down here. We have the south node here. So we can see that there's up and down here with the nodes, right? Let's see, what are the similarities do we have? All right, I think that's what but the biggest similarity is this 12th house energy. So the thing with Joe is Joe has a Sag rising. So Joe seems like Grandpa Joe, right? He's like, come on, you know, you're better than this. There's an optimism. There's a there's an optimism and a friendliness with Sag rising. But underneath it all is all of this scorpionic energy in the 12th house. So I don't know who has the let's just say there's an understanding here. And Joe actually came from from a working class background. So Joe does have an understanding of what you need to to succeed, like hard work and that should pay off. And also, so there's a sort of a common, like a common man's perhaps vision. And he has, of course, he's no longer really a common man. He's the president of the United States, and he's a very wealthy man through 50 years of being in politics. So he understands how politics works, I would say, and how to get the most out of things. And he has this friendly facade, but underneath it all, there are a lot of things about Joe that we don't see. But what I would say that he has in common with Putin is a deep sense of spirit, a deep of not necessarily new age sort of spirituality, self-actualization, but like a true connection to spirit through, in the case of Joe Biden, losses that he have had. And I'm sure Putin has losses as well. We just don't know about them. So they're both in this like intensely 12th house place, right? And right now the south node is in Scorpio, which isn't really about 12th house, but it's about releasing and letting go. And so actually the nodes of the moon, the south node is moving through Vladimir Putin's first house, which is his sense of self, and moving through Joe Biden's actually first, well, where is he? Oh, here we go. Joe Biden's 12th house. So there's a releasing, a karmic sort of debt releasing there. So it's just, I don't really know what else to say about that, except that that's what came to mind. So let's look at the relationship between Biden and Putin. And I think I'll just go from here because I'll find it here better. Let's see. Biden composite. I think this is it. So here's Biden and Joe's composite. And we see even in the composite, which makes sense because Joe is a Sag rising and Putin was a Scorpio rising, that they would have a lot of energy here in that 12th house, but also in the first house. And in fact, their composite north node is Venus conjunct the north node, conjunct Mars in the first house. So there is a transformation afoot here. We have Saturn and Pluto conjunct in the 9th house. That is a power struggle. But just like Saturn being conjunct Neptune in Vlad's chart, this is in a what we call balsamic conjunction. And so this is, in its way, their energy together brings an energy of the destruction of old regal monarchy kind of energy here. And it's interesting that I believe like the monarchy is in its, and this is like so totally separate and has nothing to do with Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin, except that they're the two most important people at the moment in the world, right? Because of what's going on in the Ukraine. And yet we can also see in their energy reflected a dissolution of the old guard when it comes to royalty, kings and queens, and their position in the world. So just a very interesting kind of aside here. We do have, but we also have here this communication in the 12th house. So I think they have a psychic connection. So this isn't as astounding as we might imagine it to be. This sort of vibes with what we experience, I think, with them. But now here's a chart that's really very, very interesting. And I just want to make sure I have the right one here. Okay. It's going to be this one. This is the chart of the relationship between Putin and Biden over the United States chart. What gets activated here? This to me, okay, so I think what I mean, we could talk about this ad nauseum, but the thing I find most important is right here. We have Jupiter, Uranus in a conjunction. This is a Jupiter and Uranus is a synodic cycle that is the which talks about the expansion of consciousness. I talked about this in my week ahead because we have Jupiter and Uranus making a 300-degree sextile this week, which is an opportunity for us to do things in a different way. And it's very interesting that we have this opportunity here with their chart of Jupiter in balsamic to Uranus in Gemini. This is talking. So this is revolutionary. This is an expansion of consciousness, but it sits on the Mars of the United States. And this is a little troubling because this is the place of open enemies. And of course, Vladimir Putin is an open enemy. But it stimulates that Mars in us. So it can stimulate our warlike tendencies, but it's also going to stimulate the anti-war tendency or the anti-war energy here. But in some way, whatever happens is a opportunity for us to see things in a very different way. Now, the thing that maybe concerns me and where I think we're going to see some stuff is with this full moon. And let me show you what this is. I know this is hard to keep track of because there's a lot of things we're looking at. This is the United States chart. The second wheel is Biden and Putin's relationship, their composite, right? We can see Neptune on, we can see their composite, Neptune sitting on Saturn, changing the dynamics of the presidency, 10th house for the United States. Bush, of course, had this as well, but Bush and Biden, Bush had it a little closer because Bush is a little younger than Biden, but Neptune in Pisces is one of those more subgenerational energies. We do, so there's that, we see that. And again, Jupiter and Uranus sitting on the Mars of the United States. This is the full moon. This is the full moon. There's the full moon up there, 27 degrees of Leo. Here's the sun, 27 degrees of Aquarius conjunct the Sibley chart moon in Aquarius. So, and then the nodes, because this particular full moon is square the nodes of the moon, we have the north node in Taurus, the south node in Scorpio, and we're in what we would consider the north node on the south node on the north node. It's like a nodal reversal. So the nodes of the moon are reversed in relationship to the chart of Biden and Putin. And so this is an opportunity to see really where we're at and what it is that we need to go, where do we need to go from here? Do we have a different way of dealing with these powers? You know, because from the Russian perspective, the United States can, holds all the levers of power. Now that's not fair either. So this is, in a way, looks like a bit of a reorientation of the world order. And I feel like it's a necessary reorientation of the world order, that hopefully we as individuals within the world can sort of move things in the direction of things that are more life affirming, the north node in Taurus. But we can't, I say that because I feel as though we have an opportunity here. We actually have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to move forward in a more evolved way. So I guess what I intend to do through this period, because I do think that there's something's going to happen, and I'm not sure how we are going to respond to it. We usually overreact to these things. And it seems like the military industrial complex is making a lot of money at this time. And the world is in a very precarious place right now, a very unstable place, as the old forms and the old ways of doing things start to crumble. And we can't necessarily assume that we know we're on the side of good here. All we know is that things are about to crumble, and in the face of crisis, great crisis, is great opportunity. This is the end of an old cycle and the beginning of a new. And this is the time when we get to really put our energy into the world that we want to create. This is going to be perhaps a reminder that we may know things and we may be more aware of things, but if we don't actually start to build things, to change things and change the situations and the reasons that we get into these situations to begin with, that this is a cycle that will destroy us. This is a cycle that will destroy us. And we need to quite frankly, get our shit together and start moving in the direction of common cause, not for common cause for America, common cause for Russia, but common cause for humanity and for the world that we live in. We cannot continue to go down this route, because really what Russia will do is they will do exactly what the United States and if they're the next imperial power, which I don't think they will, because I think it'll be China. But even China, like China has these imperialistic dreams, but the days of imperialism are over. And the time of the people is at hand. So whoever gets at the top of this heap is not going to be there for long. Not if the people realize the power that they have. And one way to do that is to make friends and come together instead of continuously separating ourselves out by nationality, color of our skin, religion, vaccination status. Come on, people. Come on, people. So I think that's what I want to say. Hopefully you found that enlightening and understanding, giving you some understanding of what I'm saying. But there are many ways to, unpeel this onion. This is just one of the many ways that you can. Have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. Let's hold peace in our heart and our mind, and we have a better chance of actually moving this forward. There's just so many layers of this, even what's going on in the Olympics with the drugging and all that stuff. And how where I was watching that. I shouldn't bring this up, but I'm going to do it anyway. I was watching that and saying how this 15-year-old is abused by their parents, and or not by their parents, by their coaches, and Russia is abusing children. And we had our own scandal. We had the sexual abuse scandal of the female gymnast in our country, and we allow our children to be used for target practice for people with some machine guns, for the most part. They're like, oh yeah, go to school. Yeah, let's do the drill, the active shooter drill. Excuse me. That's not child abuse. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We have so very far to go. And yet, if we could just turn to caring about each other and caring about our children and letting go of all this, it's my right to be an asshole stuff. Whether Putin's being the asshole or Trump's being the asshole or Biden's being the asshole, right? I also had Trump and Putin's chart, which we didn't look at, which I probably should have, but I'm tired of Trump. He's on the downward anyway. He's losing his power. There can be disruptions and pesky things, but Trump is losing his power. Biden's really has the power now. Biden and Putin, I think, with Xi Jinping just sort of sitting back and waiting to see how it all sort of precipitates out. If I could get Xi Jinping's chart. I don't think we have an accurate chart on him. That would be interesting. I think he's a Gemini. All right, everyone. Have yourself a great day. Like and subscribe. Remember, pray for peace in your heart, in your mind, and will bring the peace within, reflects with peace without. So don't argue with anybody, even if you don't agree with them. Try to find the things that you do agree upon and focus on those, because I think that energy, if each one of us moves in that direction for that energy, we may not have to have a giant conflagration, and the Ukrainian people may not have to sacrifice themselves again. You know, they did sacrifice themselves for Chernobyl. So we have a debt of gratitude to them. Much love, everyone. Take care.